What's up, everybody? This is Terrence Plummer II. You're tuned in to the UCF Football Updates podcast. Let's go.
This is Mac Loudermilk, and you're listening to the UCF Football Updates podcast.
What's up, Night Nation? This is Alan from UCF Football Updates, and you're tuned into the UCF Football Updates podcast, episode number 10. Today's another really good episode because we have former UCF linebacker Justin McDonald joining the show. And I'm excited to have him on. Justin, how's it going, man?
Man, I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Thank you for having me on the show.
Absolutely. Real excited to talk to you. You played really during a special era of UCF football. You saw a lot of highs, a lot of lows, but I would definitely say more highs than lows. So I know when we were talking before, you had said you played at UCF from 2013 to 2017. Is that correct? Were you there for the 17 season?
I left right before the undefeated season.
Okay. That's what the UCF website said. So I was making sure. Okay. Just so.
Yeah, I left as soon as that was over. Yep.
But your first season was 2013, correct?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about that. I mean, you get to, you're recruited out of high school. I saw you had some other offers, Rutgers, a couple other offers, but obviously, you played at Boyd Anderson. You're a South Florida boy, just like me. Fort Lauderdale, lived in Fort Lauderdale the last 5-6 years. And I'm in Davie. But talk a little bit first about, before we get into that first season, talk a little bit about your high school recruitment. Obviously Boyd Anderson's a pretty good program in Fort Lauderdale. What made you choose UCF? Because at that point, UCF was on the map, but I wouldn't say it's anywhere where we, how we view UCF in 2022. So talk about that recruitment.
Oh, the recruitment process was crazy. Oh man, it was crazy. Rutgers was actually my first offer coming out of my junior year, and the kind of high school I went to, like, we were a big football school, so you had all kind of schools coming through there. And as soon as Rutgers came through, like, I just started getting a bunch of offers, just started racking in. And UCF was actually one of the last offers I received, actually. We were in contact for a long time. And then I went on a couple visits. I picked a couple visits, and really what drew me to the school was the family environment, man. Being able for my family to come see me play. Because at that time, it was up to UCF, Syracuse, and actually Kentucky at the time. So I was like, Cincinnati came in the mix a little bit at the end. Cincinnati came in the mix. They came in strong. So it came down to those couple of schools, and I had to think, okay, which one do I want to do? Where do I want to go? And actually, you would think you'd be like, okay, well, he's going to go to Syracuse. Everyone was saying I was going to Syracuse. I was like, I didn't tell anyone this. So everyone was kind of saying I was going there, but when I went to a couple of games, I went to the game when on my visit when UCF was playing actually Missouri. Okay. And I went out there and I was like, wow, this program has a lot of potential. I can see myself here. The crowd was going crazy. And I was like, man, if I could just play here, this would be amazing. I love the coaching staff. My mom loved the school. Everyone loved the school. And then on top of it, my family can come see me play. So it kind of like was a no-brainer at that point. And then I made the commitment. As soon as my visit was over, I just made a commitment right then. And that's where it goes from there.
Absolutely. So at the time that you were getting recruited, obviously, you're getting recruited really in 2012 to play for 2013. At that point, did you know when you, officially chose UCF, did you know that UCF was moving from Conference USA into the American, or did you not know that yet at the time?
Yes, I did know that. They basically, the coaches that were there at the time, Coach Mo was like, hey, we're moving to the big, they were calling it the Big East at the time. It wasn't even changed to the American. They're like, hey, we're going to the Big East. We're going to be able to, play on a national stage, do all this. So it was really exciting. I could see the changes coming. Didn't know the role I would be playing. I was like, okay, yeah, I can see myself actually doing something here, making a name for myself. And I wanted to go somewhere that wasn't such a big powerhouse also at the time. I wanted to go somewhere where I could help build something and have something special there. And I seen it at UCF. I seen something was brewing. I could feel it. You can kind of feel it when something special is getting ready to happen. I wanted to be a part of it. I didn't want to miss out on it. And I'm happy I did it because I think that 2013 year kind of started out everything and started UCF on the path that it's on now. And it just keep growing. I'm just so happy about UCF and everything they're doing right now.
Absolutely. And I love that you bring that up about, choosing somewhere, that you could build something and not necessarily a powerhouse. And that's why, Jeff Godfrey is one of my favorite UCF players. I remember him kind of having a bunch of huge offers out of high school, and him and Joshua Reese, both out of Miami, both said like, hey, like I could go to or whatever, FSU, but I want to go somewhere I could build something. So that's really cool. I commend you on that. Cause I mean, there's a lot of legends that play at FSU, UF, but they're amongst a bunch of other legends. And that's not to say that UCF doesn't have its own legends, but you can really help mold the school and build it into what it's becoming and still become today. So that's really cool. So let's talk about that 2013 season. I mean, you get to UCF right away as a freshman. I think you redshirted your freshman year. But what was that like in that first year to be like, not only first year in the American, we win the first ever conference title, but then we go to the Fiesta Bowl, beat Baylor and have at that time the best year in school history. How was that kind of watching that from the sidelines and like, whoa, this is my freshman year. This is how it's going to be here.
Oh, it was crazy. Oh man, it was crazy. I started out half the year. Actually, when I was recruited there and I signed, they originally put me at strong safety originally. But College Eaton, they get you in that program and they were like, yeah, we're going to move you to linebacker now. So got moved there. Beginning of the season, I really didn't play much. I was on scout team, really didn't do much of anything, but between half the year, they say, Justin, you're doing really great on scout team. We want to play you a little bit. So I actually got an opportunity to play and play there. I played probably the end of the last half of the year. I think the first game I actually played in was against Rutgers. That was my first start against the team that first offered me.
That's right. You didn't redshirt your freshman year. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. I actually played against them and I had a great game. And from there, the coaches seen the kind of potential I had, and being able to play in that Baylor game, I didn't play too much because I was dealing with a little concussion issues, things like that.
Right.
But I was able to get cleared before the game. So my coach kind of wanted to play it safe. He didn't want me to get hurt. I mean, it's on my freshman year. He didn't want me to get another concussion or anything, but I did play in that game. But being able to experience that, seeing the crowd, being able to see exactly how a big BCS New Year's bowl game was, man, that was amazing. Once you get a taste of that, it's like you can't, anything else below it is like, man, I don't want it. I want that. I want the bowl game. Then seeing exactly the work ethic it takes to get there as a freshman kind of sets you off on the right path. You know exactly what you need to do, the hard work, dedication, knowing that there is going to be adversities that come, and knowing how to stick together as a team and push through different things. So for that first year to go through all that, I was like, yeah, I made the right decision. This is what I need to be. I made the correct decision. And I was looking so forward to everything else that UCF had to offer.
Yeah, I bet that is really cool. I want to talk about that since, for most of your UCF career, you obviously played under George O'Leary, and UCF these days is obviously known for their offense, UC fast and everything. But for the longest time, because I was in school, I guess we probably had a little bit of no, I graduated in 2012. So I started in 2007. So in my day at UCF, we had some really good teams, but it was really based on defense. I mean, there was, of course, some good skill players, some good receivers and things like that. But O'Leary was known for that hard-nosed defense. Like, we're not going to let up a lot of points. We're going to stop the run. That's how it was. And I think these new fans and just the way college football is now, offense is so important and just so flashy, right? But right. You being a defensive guy, linebacker, talk about, those UCF defenses, at least in your first couple of years, like how much importance was placed on that by O'Leary and just the defensive side of the ball, and what were those defenses like? Because I don't think a lot of UCF fans now remember that we were really a defensive program for quite a time.
Yeah, man, that defense was fierce, man. O'Leary spent a lot of time on the defensive side of the ball in practices. I remember, and he used to be tough on us, man. When I say tough, he used to be tough. On the whole 2 hours, he's on the defensive side, making sure we're doing everything. A lot of hitting. It was very physical. Practices were very physical. There wasn't too many times we just went helmets or just helmets and shoulder pads. We were full pads all the time.
Okay.
Because we had to, if you want to be the best, you want to be physical, you got to go and practice and be physical. So, yeah, it was very tough. I will say that the most. Being able, a lot of film study. He was a master of the game. He knew the game, and he knew exactly what he was talking about. He would have us prepared for every situation. Offense was always good. He gave them the same amount of attention, but when it came to actual practice time, and he knew that, hey, if they can't score, you can't win. That's the point of the game, football. If we score 7 and you score 0, we win. So that's why he took defense so important. He put such an emphasis on defense, and that just came downhill from the top all the way down to the players. Like, if the head coach has that mentality that we're going to be fierce, we're going to be physical, no one's going to move the ball, no one's going to be able to do anything on offense, it's going to come all the way down to the assistant coaches, down to the train. Everyone's talking defense. No one can score. And that's the mentality we came with every game, that you're not going to be able to move the ball on us. And you might get us this time. We might bend, but we're not going to break. And that's, we want that mentality into every game. And it paid off for us in a lot of games. We had a great offense, Blake and Rashad Perriman, stand back while he was Will, stand back while he was there. And those guys, Josh and Godfrey, all those guys, man, they were amazing offensive players, man. But that defense, I really want to say that defense also held us in a lot of games as well. And we kind of helped each other out in certain games. Certain games we struggled, but the offense came through. But overall, O'Leary had a lot of insight. He was really smart, real smart coach. I will say that about him. He was a really smart coach when it came to defense side of the ball.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. And, then, you have that 2014 season, another good year, win a share of the conference again. Then 2015 happens, the infamous, 2015 year where the wheels fall off. And every guy that I've interviewed at UCF that was all part of that team, I always ask them this question, and I get somewhat of a similar take. But I always like to just hear, what, your thoughts on it, because there's just so much talent on that team. There really was. I mean, that a lot of those guys were part of the 2017 team that won every game. So what kind of happened that year? Why did the wheels fall off? I mean, I know a lot of seniors graduated from the 2014 team, and a lot of key guys left. You no longer had Bortles and Perriman and some of those guys that you mentioned. But what happened to the point where you weren't even able to win one game, including against like Furman? What really was the key reason why you just couldn't, everything fell apart?
Well, some of that was inexperience, not having those kind of guys being put in certain situations. A lot of that was inexperience. I'll also say a lot of it was camaraderie as well. From the 2013, 2014 team, I can say that, we gelled a lot more. We did a lot more things outside of the team as well. But that year, I kind of say that maybe we weren't as together as a team. And then we also had a lot of inexperience on top of that. So when you put both of that together, other guys maybe weren't necessarily doing the jobs that we're supposed to do. We're trying to do extra because we wanted to know, we knew like, hey, we really want to make this play. We really want to make a play. So you kind of do things that you go out of the playbook or out of the scheme that you're supposed to do because you want to make that play so bad. And then that turns into them making a play because where you're supposed to be, you got out of that position. We weren't playing as all 11. We were kind of playing as open hand and not a fist in a sense. So sometimes you'll make a play, sometimes you won't. And that's because we weren't playing all together as all 11 on one accord. And then kind of, you can see it on the field. And we were trying to figure out ways to fix it and things like that. But inexperience kind of took over at that point. And once you kind of players started getting frustrated with things, and it really wasn't going the way we wanted it to get. And that's where we got, man. We went 0-12, man, and it sucked being out there because we knew how much our fans actually loved team. We really wanted to put a better product on the field. We wanted to get some wins out there, knowing the kind of talent we had. Because it just didn't make sense. You have those same players on the 2017 team, you go undefeated with those same kids, and it's like, what happened? Why? Right. Which I understand, like, it doesn't make sense. So, yeah, I would say a lot of inexperience. A lot of guys, we weren't hitting teams with a closed fist. We were more of an open hand. So when you have an open hand, you have a lot of gaps. You got a lot of holes in there. So teams were finding those gaps. They were finding exactly where our weaknesses were, and we were just trying to fight our way out of it. But that season kind of got the best of us that year. I mean, we told ourselves at the end of that year, in the last game of the season, hey, it will not be another year we go 0-12. We're going to do everything we can to fix this. And we did a lot of that. We did a lot of things differently that next year, building it into the offseason and everything.
Yeah, and obviously, pretty much since that year, every year has been pretty damn good for the most part. But your senior year is kind of your breakout year. You have 3.5 tackles for loss. You have a sack. I mean, you're playing a lot more. In that 2016, obviously, we transitioned from Coach O'Leary to Coach Frost. You talk about that transition. I mean, you go, your whole UCF career with one coach, and then then you have a completely change of the guard. I mean, we're talking night and day difference between O'Leary and Frost, old versus young, old style versus new style, offense and defense. So what was that, like that transition in coach staff to not only play under Frost, but then I've obviously coached, Shenander there as your DC. Just talk about that change and that transition in 2016.
Oh, it was definitely night and day. It was he brought new life to the team. We just went 0-12. We were trying to figure things out. We don't know exactly where we're heading. We know we want to head in one direction, but we kind of need a leader to get us there. The staff was still, we don't know who's our head coach going to be, things like that. But when he comes in, I still remember the first team meeting he had, and the impact he left on us was like, when he left the room, we kind of all in the locker room, walking back to our dorms and things. We're all looking at each other like, yeah, this is going to be it. This is the coach we want. This is the guy we want. We're gonna go to war for him, just because of the style he came, the swagger he had. It was like, man, he's really a player's coach. Like, he understands what's going. He understands the change of college football is going towards. And Coach Shenander, he was defensive guru, man. He's a genius. Some of the things he had, I remember we had one play where no one lines up into like an actual alignment. We just all walk around the field, like on the line of scrimmage. And he was like, oh, this play is going to work. I know it looks a little crazy. The play is going to work. Every time we ran it, the play works every time. And excuse me. But they really brought new life to that team. The practices were totally different. It was high motor from the first horn to the last horn. I never stretched like that before, where it was nonstop. But it was definitely an experience. And the team, we went to war for him. We believed in him. We bought in. From him all the way down to the training staff, strength conditioning, everything. We had to buy in. He definitely did a lot of different things. He brought in like a training staff called the program. He brought them in and did different things, and it really brought the team together because it showed like no one man could do it alone. The program was built on, hey, it's like Navy SEALs like training or something like that. We had to get in pools with sweaters on and taking them off in the deep end, and it was crazy. But it really helped out because by the time the season came around, we were different. We were a whole different team. You can tell we're a different team. We had a new swagger about us. We had new swag, all kind of things, new uniforms, all kind of new swag we had going on. So it just brought new life to the team, and it gave us that push we needed to get to that next level.
Yeah, you could really see the new life that year. I remember just feeling like in 2016, even though we lost some games, it's like, all right, we got our team back. Like, we're in the right direction. So then after, obviously you graduate. So did you make a run at going pro, or did you kind of make a decision afterwards that, you were going to kind of go off into your career outside of football, or what talk about your kind of post-career in terms of football?
Yeah, I made a couple runs at it. I tried to make a couple runs. Of course, I was undrafted at the time. I had a couple of contacts with a couple of pro teams, things like that, but nothing that really shaked out. So my route was CFL. I was going towards the CFL route. I had spent a little bit of time with the Hamilton Tiger Cats for a little bit. It wasn't even a long stint there. And then the Montreal Alouettes. Went training camp there, did a couple things there, but nothing that really shaked out long enough for the whole year or anything like that. Then I was going to do a little indoor arena football league. I actually signed a contract with the Cedar Rapids. Signed a contract there with them. And then the coaches, during the season, were actually getting ready to go to a new indoor team in North Carolina, something like that. And they were like, hey, we want you to follow us. So I was like, is this even a thing? Like, how does this happen? What's going on? I was like, yeah, if you want to follow us, we're going to talk to GMs over there, see if we can get you traded over here and all this. And then I started thinking to myself, like, hey, I really love to do that, but that's just a lot. And at the time, like, my career was going up and down, I don't know what's going on. And then you got life. You still got bills to pay. You still got to take care of yourself. You still want to do things. So I was like, you know what? I just left it alone. I was like, you know what? I think I can still use my image, still use my love for sports in a different way.
Sure.
Everyone doesn't use it in the same way. Some people make it to that next level, and I have all the love for them. And a bunch of dudes I know in the NFL, and I close friends, and I love them for that. That's the route they took, but everyone else has a different route. So I figured I'll use my love for sports in a different way, and I can make an impact in a different way.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And that's really cool, man. I mean, hey, like, you still made it to one of the highest levels of the sports. There's no doubt about it. So I kind of, when you're talking, I had an interesting kind of thought that popped in my head. I think when it comes to defense, UCF is known. We put DBs in the NFL. I mean, there's just endless names that are in the NFL from UCF. Why is it though, and you're a linebacker, so we'll go there, why isn't UCF? I mean, we've had some good linebackers, and there's been some guys like Terrence Plummer and I guess Shaquem Griffin that, went to the NFL. Why doesn't UCF put more, linebackers and D-line? Well, D-line, I guess, can make sense. Maybe some that are a little bit smaller, but like, why are we not putting more linebackers? Why does it seem that it only is, really corners and safeties from UCF that get to the NFL from a defensive side of things?
Well, I know I was there. Other than TP, we were kind of undersized at linebacker as well. So a lot of teams used to be, hey, you guys are undersized, you guys need to get bigger. But they failed to understand, the game was changing. People are going to spread. Everyone's not doing power I and trying to go just straight downhill. A lot of teams are trying to spread it out and throw it. If you got super oversized linebackers, they can't run with slot receivers and tight ends and things like that. It won't succeed. But at that time, I kind of think that the transition wasn't there yet. The translation wasn't there yet between what the offenses are doing and what kind of linebackers you really need. You need those safety / linebackers in those positions to be able to handle those type of things, RPOs and things like that that are quick enough. So I do think that a lot of that came from, size. Because we've had a lot of great linebackers.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I really don't think that UCF got the credit it deserves, and they still not getting the credit it deserves in the linebacker spot, because we've definitely had some studs in that position. I remember we've had a linebacker take a kick return to the house, Michael Easton, and he was a linebacker, and a lot of people didn't know that. They're like, who's this guy taking a kick return for a touchdown? And it was like 100-some yard return, like. And he plays linebacker. He's moving like a receiver. You would not even know it. So I really think a lot of that comes from undersized. And a lot of people just honestly just sleeping on UCF. Like, and I know a lot of fans, you, me, a lot of players, we know that UCF is a team that really gets slept on a lot. As of recently, people are not sleeping on us anymore because they're noticing, hey, we mean business. So I think the more time goes by, the more they'll start to put more respect on a lot of our positions and things we do there.
And, size, I think I ask this to everyone I talk to, because being that my account has gotten somewhat popular, I get in these, I get random trolls that, do the whole group of 5 versus power 5 thing. I hear it all the time. And it's funny, UCF is obviously going to power 5, but, I've been defending the group of 5 for years. It's specifically the American Conference, because it's a damn good conference. There's some really good players in there. And I think, is the SEC overall better than the American? Yeah, that's probably not a big debate, but it's not like, I think, a lot of these teams, the top tier of the teams like the UCFs, the Cincinnatis, the Houstons, can really compete with anyone in the country. Yeah, they may lose some games, but they're going to win some games. And those teams like Alabama, LSU, they're going to put out probably more pros than us, but we're going to still put our fair share of pros out. And that's how I like to measure talent, is how much pro guys are we getting? And we put in a lot of pro talent. But what I want to ask is, what do you find the main difference between a Power 5 and a Group of 5 school? When I talk to guys of all different positions, they usually say skill players, running back, receiver, it's about the same. The speed's the same.
Definitely.
Gabe Davis at LSU at UCF is probably the same as Jamar Chase at LSU. Something like that is similar levels. But a lot of them talk about the big uglies, the offensive line, defensive line. The Power 5s generally have just a little bit more depth there. They have a little bit more of that 6'4", 300-pounder that's just sitting on the bench, while we're a little thinner there. But overall, what's the main difference between a school, an average or above average or even elite Power 5 versus an upper tier elite Group of 5 like UCF?
Well, you said it. A lot of it has to do with the trenches. It has nothing to do, because even when we're training and we're getting ready to play at FCS school, we say, hey, don't take these guys lightly. Skilled players are a dime a dozen, and they're all the same. They all run 4.3s to 4.5s, and they can all move. They can all make plays. What really makes that difference is O-line, D-line. Those places, when, like you said, if you can keep recycling 6'4" after 6'4" after 6, and throughout the whole game, and all we have is 2 of them, after a while, it runs you down. It really does. It runs you down. And then at that point, it comes to technique. How hard do you want it? And things like that. Another thing that would probably separate them is facilities. The type of money the revenues that they get to have the different facilities they can will help attract those type of kids. Some kids don't care about when they're going to play, or when they just want to have the name of the school associated with them. So a lot of that has to do with facilities, things like that. Some of these Power 5 schools have legendary coaches like Nick Saban.
Sure.
I remember when I was in high school, Nick Saban flew on a helicopter to my school, shut the whole school down to get Eddie Jackson. And I was like, who plays with the Chicago Bears now? But at the time, it's like, what in the world? This man really just flew into school for me. So it's those little things, slightly different things that might change, that gives those kids a different outlook on, I may want to go Power 5, or I'll stay in the group of 5. But like you said, man, American Conference that should have been a part of the Power 5 a long time ago.
Right.
Because those teams are crazy good. And a lot of people really don't understand until their school actually plays a UCF or plays a Cincinnati. Then they're like, oh, they're actually pretty good.
We smacked you in the mouth.
Yeah, they're like, okay, maybe we should put a little bit more respect on it. Maybe put it on that conference. So I would say that would probably be the biggest difference in those type of schools, is facilities, the type of revenue they bring in, and offensive line, defensive line. That's what separates those schools.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, did that, you personally, when you were getting recruited and you said you had an offer from Kentucky and you were obviously contemplating Syracuse, did that turn you off at all that UCF was a Group of 5? When you were sitting there, obviously you made the choice for UCF, but when you're sitting there debating in your head before you went official with UCF, you're like, damn, but they're Group of 5. Because I feel as much of talented guys we get, that probably does limit, limit us from getting even more, guys that are the 4 or the 5 stars, whatever. I mean, did that thought ever creep in your head, that doubt, man, I don't know if I want to do that?
Yeah, it definitely did. And I think that's some of the reason why it stayed in my mind as long as it did. I probably didn't commit until a week before signing day. But that definitely played a big role, because you're like, hey man, they're playing on TV all the time. They play the Bamas, and they play the Tennessees, and they're going to play Texas next year, and this and that. And you're just thinking about it. All my life, I've been watching ESPN and things like that. And these are the type of schools that's on these channels. And you're like, well, and at the time, UCF really wasn't playing on TV like that. I mean, they were on TV, but not as much as they are now. It's almost every week you can catch UCF on TV. So it definitely was in the back of my mind. And then back then, you didn't really understand that, hey, these NFL scouts, they're going to go anywhere. They're going to find you. So all your life, all you're thinking is, I got to go to these type of schools to get looked at. I got to go to these type of schools to get the experience I want and the exposure I want. And you kind of don't know, because you don't know any better.
Sure.
But, in my whole thought process, that was one of the things. But another thing that I was also thinking about was after football. My mom was a big person on, what are you going to do after football? Even if you make it to the NFL, what are you going to do? What are some of your other passions? What are your values? What do you want to, football can't be just, I want to go to this school because they have a nice uniform and you're going to be playing in this type of stadium. What is it going to be? So she kind of instilled that into me in an early age. So when I was looking at some schools, I'm like, yeah, you guys have that, but you don't even have my major. Like, I'm not going to switch my major just to go to your school. I'm not going to want to, if you don't even offer my major, what's the use of me even come here? Like,
Right.
we already have a disconnect there. So it was things like that kind of made me say, you know what, UCF might be the way to go. Another thing that made me say UCF is the way to go my visit, just seeing exactly who doesn't want to go to school when Eyes of Adventure and Universal Studios shuts the whole park down for the school. Like,
so true.
like, who doesn't want to do stuff like that? That's like icing on the cake. You have the whole college environment. I'm close to home. My parents are gonna watch me. Educational. They have my major. They have what I'm looking for. Something special is brewing here. We're getting ready to go to Big East. Like, it was nothing that when I had my little pros and cons list, UCF checked all the boxes. And I was like, do I not go to the school that checks all the boxes just because of a name? Or do I go somewhere and make a name for myself and it also checks all my boxes? I have the best of both worlds. I'm close to family and I get everything I want out of a college. So
Sure.
I put it all in perspective and I was like, yeah, UCF's the right move to make. And I made the move and never looked back and kept going from there.
Absolutely. Kind of one of the final UCF questions I want to ask you here is, so, obviously you ended your UCF career in 2016. And it's funny, I had Nick Patty on my podcast a while back, and he was saying you graduated in 2016. And I was like, and I'm going to ask you the same thing. What was that like to just miss the boat of the 2017 season? Obviously, like, you have that 2016 season, you grind, you get UCF back from that horrible, 0-12 season. And you're like, all right, we're building something special. And then you just missed the most epic year in UCF history by 1 year.
Oh my gosh, man, that was tough. A lot of people don't know this. A lot of the athletes don't know this, but I was actually fighting for another year.
Really?
I was actually fighting because in the middle of, after my freshman year, in the spring game, I tore my MCL, PCL, things like that. So I missed half a year and I barely played a little bit that year. So I had a chance to actually get a year back.
Mm-hmm.
And I fought with the NCAA over it. One of the coaches that was helping me fight the NCAA to get my extra year of eligibility, he had left and went to a different school. So then I didn't know how to reach out to the NCAA anymore. I didn't really know. So it turned out that they didn't give me the eligibility. If I would have turned out and he would have been there probably like another month, I probably would have won that case. And I probably would have been there for that 2017 year.
Damn.
I never told anyone on the team I was fighting for another year because I didn't want them to be like, oh, Justin's coming back. And the coaches would be like, oh, maybe he's going to come back another year. So I just wanted to keep it between me and the coach at the time. But turns out, yeah, I didn't get that eligibility granted, man. I had to go. And when I seen that happen, all I could think about was, dang, I almost had my year of eligibility back. I would have been there. But seeing those guys, I did message some of the guys after the game. I was like, man, you guys really did it. We're back. Like, UCF is back. And it's just a great feeling. Some of the guys that came in with me in that recruiting class to lead the same way they came, felt amazing. We came in on the pinnacle, and you guys are leaving on top of the pinnacle. And to beat Auburn, it was even better. SEC school was even better. We did the Big 12, Big 10, all that. We did those guys. We beat the Penn States and all that. But to beat Auburn, that was a whole different level. So I was jealous. I will say that I was jealous, but I was happy for those guys, man. And it was a great accomplishment. I tell them every time if I can see them, hey, man, I really appreciate you guys bringing UCF back to where we're supposed to be. You guys finished the job where we wanted to be finished. You guys did it.
Absolutely. So let's bring it to present day. What's it, I mean, obviously you just talked about it a little bit there, but how do you feel about the direction of the program now? I mean, obviously the last few years have been really good. I mean, not the 13-0 like 2017, but obviously the foundation's built. We're going to the Big 12. We have Gus Malzahn as our coach now. How do you feel about him being the coach? How do you feel about the, just the overall direction of the program? And are you still involved at all? Do you, watch the games, go to the games, stay in touch, anything like that?
Yes, I still watch the games. It's kind of harder now to get to the games. Currently I'm living in Minnesota now. So it is.
Really?
Yeah. So currently it's kind of hard to get to those games right now.
Yeah.
But I watch everyone I can. I watch it. I even bought a package to try to watch every single last UCF game. I want to be very involved in the school. My wife gets tired of me talking about UCF sometimes because I talk about it so much.
Me
So
too.
she's like, "Oh my
Mine
gosh,
too.
yeah, exactly." She's like, "I'm going upstairs. You watch the game, things like that." But she's also very involved with the school as well. She loves to watch the games with me until I get overexcited. Then she's like, "All right, now it's my time to leave." So, but yeah, I try to, as much as I can, to be involved. I really like the direction where we're going. I really believe in Gus Malzahn. I believe in him as a coach. I'm almost pumped up when I found out, was getting him as a coach because I knew he knows what he's talking about. He knows football. And he's going to get those kids. When I watched his press conference, when he first got hired, and I watched his press conference, he was like, "Yeah, I'm going to recruit like my hair is on fire. And I'm going to get these kids in. I'm going to go after these 4 or 5 stars." He just gave me the feeling of he's going to do it. Like, I really can trust this guy. I can believe him. And he really he believes in what UCF is. Last thing I would want is all that hard work, even with the ups and downs between 2013, 2017, is for all that to happen and just be lost in history. And that's just to be a mediocre team, not really doing anything and not making noise. So having him there, listened to what he had to say, that gave me all the confidence in the world that he's going to do what he says. And he's been coming through. He's definitely been coming through. I definitely follow your page. So I've seen every time you put out a post, I'm like, all right, who we got? Who we get? Who's the recruit? I go down and read everything. I'm like, oh yeah, he's doing great. I really believe in what he's doing. And I know this year we're hit with a lot of injuries, a lot of different things, a lot of situations happen, but that's football, The injury guys sometimes are on your side, sometimes they're not. And last year they weren't too much on our side. But even with that, having the type of year we had to beat Florida and everything like that, that goes to show how much fight he really gives these kids, how much they really believe in him, what he's saying. A lot of kids will really pack it up and just say, "You know what, we got next year. Team will be healthy next year." But no, they kept fighting, and that shows me that they're buying what he's selling. They're buying it. I'm buying it, and I really love the direction we're going. I'm anticipating to really see big things continue to come from UCF.
Absolutely, no question about it. Well, let's talk about college football as a whole. Obviously, a lot has changed since you graduated, now with the NIL and obviously the one-time transfer rule where guys can leave after a year. I want to talk about the portal. Obviously UCF has benefited greatly from the portal. There's no question about it. But then you kind of had, over the course of, the past 10 years, UCF has had really never major guys transfer out, maybe here and there, but then this offseason, you saw Dylan Gabriel, one of the best quarterbacks in school history. You saw a guy at your position, Tatum Bethune, who is arguably the team's best defensive player last year. And now we just saw Cam Good, defensive tackle transfer. And in my experience, most guys that have transferred, at least up until this portal era, have usually been because they're unhappy. One being that they're not getting playing time. So they got to transfer. They want to get playing time, completely understandable. Or they're unhappy. Maybe there's been a big coaching change, like when we went from Frost to Heupel, for example. That wasn't the guys that recruited them. But you see this now with the Gabriel, Bethune, Good. This was not an issue of playing time. These guys were starters, legitimate starters. So and maybe, obviously Malzahn didn't recruit any of those 3 guys. So maybe a new coach staff had to do with it, but they could have also transferred last season before last season. So why do you think big names like that are guaranteed playing time, they've been in the program for 3-4 years, know their role, are doing really good job, and why do they transfer? Because, I've heard things like, oh, well, they want a better shot at the pros. It's like, well, UCF puts out pros every single year. Just last year, we had 5 guys drafted. So what do you think? Why do you think some key guys like that transferred, A, and then B, what do you think of this new portal era? Do you like it? Do you think it's a good thing for college football?
Everything has its pros and cons with a transfer portal. That's the best way you could put it with that one. Everything has its pros and cons. Some guys, they leave and they go for different reasons. It could be, maybe it's the playing style, or they maybe at UCF we're in a 4-3, but they want to be in a 3-4, or they want to be in a 2-2. It's a 4-2-5 or different things like that. So it could be a lot of different things systematically that they probably just don't like. I mean, as a solidified starter, that's the thing that changes this whole thing with the portal. You know, as a solidified starter, you would think that no one want to leave. You got everything you want. You're starting. You're making plays. You know, you're one of the top players. So it's something that's definitely different. I think I think it's a good thing. The portal is a good thing because, yeah, it sucks when we have players leave, but it also gives us the opportunity to get players as well. And as you've been saying, it's been working out for us. I was looking at one of your posts, and I think you said that UCF is ranked 16th right now with transfers and things like that. So that's a great thing, you know, not on top of getting incoming freshmen into the school, but also getting these high caliber, you know, transfers into the school also just helps excel the school. But at the same time, it sucks because you have players that, you know, have pivotal roles on the team leave. And you have to fill these roles in. It's almost like it's almost like NFL. It's like free agency now. Guys have these NIL deals now, and they can go. Maybe that could be another reason why they left. Maybe at this other school, they have more opportunities at different NILs and making more money or things like. I have no idea how this thing works. This NIL thing works. It's definitely new to me. I wish we had something like that when I was there. I absolutely wish we did, but I'm just happy the guys are finally able to, you know, make money off their image now. That's such a big thing, and I really believe that it's a good thing. But all good things have their, you know, their downfalls in there. So I do believe that's one of the bad things about it is that when you do have great players in your program, they have the opportunity to leave. Whether it's a good situation or a bad situation, they can just say, you know what, I just want to go somewhere else. Maybe they want a different environment or something. I really don't know why you would leave a great situation, but if I had to guess, it would have to be one of those reasons. But I think it could be a good thing. I think the portal can be a good thing. The NIL deals, I think that's also a great thing as well. You know, for these players to actually make money off their name and things like that. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's nuanced. Like, I understand. I think the name, image, likeness thing passing is overall good, and you know, it's good that these guys can make money. They should be able to. And the portal, I just think that it's also new that there needs to be some, as it evolves, maybe some regulations, like, you know, maybe you can't transfer in the middle of the season, or, you know, there's a date, or maybe, you know, you can't transfer before your freshman year even starts. If you get on campus and you're there for a month, you can't transfer, you know, just something to make it a little less crazy, because we're seeing a lot of guys are not finding new homes, and that's the problem.
So that is pretty crazy. I will say, I do agree with that. Yeah. Cause, I believe you should at least be at the school for at least a year or two.
Yeah, because how you know what you like if you're only there for a month, you know?
Exactly, because then you're just gonna get there and then you're gonna leave again. So it's like, it just goes to show, you know, some guys definitely have loyalty to their school. Some guys really don't have as much loyalty, but I mean, it's football. I mean, some of these guys look at it as a business, just like some of these guys in the NFL look at it now. Now they have the NILs and things like that. They look at it as a business now. They're like, hey, and I don't know why you would leave Orlando. Right? Like, that is like the best place to be if you want to have your name, image, and likeness known. Like, that is such a big entertainment area. You would think that you'll be set. You would think, but I do agree with you though. I don't believe you should just be able just to, you know, get there and just leave right away. I do think you should at least spend some time there, spend some time at the school. All great people had to wait in line. Some people don't. They just want instant gratification, you know. Some guys just want to get there right away and play right away. But little do they know, Shaquem Griffin, like, the guy didn't play until his junior year. Like,
right.
Come on. Like, I remember we came in the same year. I remember having to give so many pep talks to him because he couldn't do it. Like, just imagine if the transfer portal was out and he was like, I'm out. And he just left.
Right.
UCF would have no idea what kind of talent this guy had. So, I mean, it's a great thing, but I also think that some guys shouldn't jump ship so fast. It should actually wait it out and play and let your plan do the talking and not try to just find the easy way out of everything.
Definitely, man. So let's finish up here and talk about you a little bit. You know, now, like you said, you're living in Minnesota, and you've started your own company. It's an apparel company called Athletes on Air. You know, I obviously love that. I'm a business owner myself. I own a marketing agency. So I know the challenges that come along with starting your own company, but, tell the podcast listeners, Instagram followers, what your company's about, what they can get from you, where they can get it from you, and just, a little bit about the clothing line that you started, and the story behind it.
Okay. So actually Athletes on Air first was a training business. It started out as Prodigy Sports Performance. That's what it started out as.
Oh, okay.
Here, and I wanted to train, student athletes and help them get to the next level. Give them some information on how to get to the next level, recruiting, different things like that. With the job I had at the time, I wasn't able to really give the kids the amount of attention that I needed, but I still wanted to be around for them with sports and things like that. So then I went through a process of rebranding, and then that's when Athletes on Air came about. It started out as being Athletes on Air came from on air because we were supposed to do like a podcast / YouTube type thing where I could bring in student athletes. We could talk about the different things they go through, help them with those things. And it continued to grow and it continued to build. And I was like, you know what? Let's also get into sports apparel. Let's get into clothing. This could be so much bigger than just this. I want my reach to be as far as I can put it out there. So it kind of built itself into Athletes on Air, the sports apparel company. So really what we do there is, as of course, we build clothes for student athletes, for sports, different things like that, workout attire, gear, things like that. But I also wanted to have a reach to still help student athletes. I was like, yeah, I could sell clothes and things like that, and that's all good and everything, but how am I making an impact on the community? How am I helping the next kid, that was just like me? How am I helping the next kid that was at Boyd Anderson? How am I helping the next kid that was up here in Minnesota in high school? How am I helping them? So that's when I came up with the idea of starting a scholarship fund
Cool.
for student athletes. And really the name of it is the Red Zone Scholarship, Athletes on Air Red Zone Scholarship Fund. And really what I want to do there is actually help student athletes that don't get scholarships, kids that did play sports, understand sports and grades and how important it is, that want to go and go into higher education. How can I help those guys? So that's when the scholarship fund came about. And really, I want to help as many kids as I can. Right now, the goal is to help 2 kids with that. So that's why all of the sales, proceeds, some of the proceeds of those sales goes to the scholarship fund.
Great.
So we could do that. We also, accept donations and things like that because I want to be able to give kids as much as I possibly can for that. We also have some things coming in the mix where we're going to open up a program where kids that want to learn about starting their business, want to learn about how to make clothes and have that information. We have a program where they can come in like two or 3 days out of the week, come to my company, and they actually learn. They can build some designs and put their designs on t-shirts and things like that.
Wow.
Where they can get that experience and they can learn, hey, I can do something outside of football. I can do something outside of sports and make a positive impact for the next person. So that's kind of where it came to be. That's kind of what we're looking at. We want to use sports as the main focus on bringing us all together for that for the same commonality, which is sports. Sports brings us together. It helps everyone. Sports is one of the only, I'm not going to say the only, but it's one of the only things where all religions, race, sex, everything comes together. And despite your background, comes together and plays together as one. So if I could use sports and my image and my business to continue to have that same impact on the world today, and while I'm also doing that, giving a great impact on these student athletes and helping them reach the next level, that's all I'm looking for with this business. I'm not looking to become a millionaire or become this. That's not what it's about for me. What it's about for me is being able to give back to these kids and give someone the same opportunity I had and go to college and have that experience to get an education, to be able to do something like this, to give back to their communities and grow their communities.
Well, that's an incredible message, man. And I definitely respect that. And, we got to get that message out there. So, for when this, podcast was released, I want, everyone, the website is athletesonair.com. You can obviously follow them on Instagram as well. Go to their website, support this cause, purchase their shirts. They got some really cool hoodies, some really cool shirts. really cool shorts as well. A lot of great athletic gear. And it obviously supports a great cause. So it's athletesonair.com. And I think what we're also going to do, we talked about this a little bit before, is we're going to do a little giveaway for the followers. So I want to get everyone to actually follow your account. I will do its own post on this. We're going to do a giveaway. But basically it's going to be to follow at Athletes on Air on Instagram. You're going to tag a couple of friends on my post in the comments, similar to how I've done other giveaways in the past. We'll give away, an item to be named later. But in the meantime, I want everyone to check out athletesonair.com and follow them on Instagram. Otherwise, Justin, really appreciate you coming on the show today. You had a lot of great insight, a lot of great knowledge, and love the message you're doing with your company there, Athlete on Air. And, thanks for coming on. We can maybe have you again, maybe sometime in the off season or during, next season, and, get some updates on your company, as well as talk some more UCF.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. I really appreciate you, bringing me onto the show, be able to, give my insights, give a little bit of the stories and a little bit of information I do have on UCF, over the years. And I appreciate you actually using your platform to be able to actually give what my mission is for my business and things like that. So man, I really appreciate it. I love the work you're doing. I follow all the time. I'm always watching your updates and things like that. So I know the latest news, and definitely, I can't wait to continue to work with you. I look forward to continue to work with you with Athletes on Air, and I look forward to it, man. Thank you for your time.
Me too. I really appreciate that. So once again, tune in or follow Justin's company at Athletes on Air. Their website, athletesonair.com. And we'll, talk about that giveaway in a later post. Otherwise, thank you for tuning into the UCF Football Updates podcast number 10. You can find all of my podcasts on YouTube, as well as follow me on Instagram, ucf.football.updates, and on Twitter, UCFFB Updates. Thanks again, Justin.